the cigar. Yeah.
Good morning, New Eden. Today is October 1st, 2023, and this is the Federation Frontline Report. We are pirating into this broadcast from the Daly's HQ, and we have one of the coolest fucking Galente saviors of the entire universe, Mr. Corvus, with us today. Actually, he's with one of the best fucking Caldari groups out there. Look at that! Look at that! He's representing here. We got special docking access for him over here into HQ today. Tell me, Corvus, how's it going, man?
It's going pretty good, man. Thank you for having me on what should be the enemies podcast, but we're good at the moment.
We are really good.
I'm feeling welcome. I'm just about to ping out the stream on Discord as well. On my Discord, that is.
Yeah, we got the nice little announcement channel, but it's early for a lot of us. We'll see. But we definitely know people will be watching the podcast, but we'll see who we can get in here to chat with us, because I'm sure that there's some people that'll got some questions for you, and we always like to field a little bit of questions from the audience. But tell us, so first off, of who you fly for, what do you do in EVE Online right now?
So in-game, I'm known as Corvus Onzo. I'm the CEO and leader of Mercury Arms Inc., which is a small corporation in Caldari faction warfare. Small, I mean, is a relative term. We're about 30 people. So yeah, small. But yeah, we're currently on the front lines in EHA and OICX. And yeah, it's having a good amount of fun. We're a bunch of veterans of faction warfare. A lot of us played back in the day from 2014, 2013, and even before that, some people. So yeah, it's good fun all around.
Awesome. Yeah, glad to hear. Glad to see you out in space. Anytime that I do see you, you guys are pretty badass, and always have good fights with you guys. And we got to meet at Fanfest for real life, and kept on bumping into each other, kept on having really great conversations, man. I loved hanging out and just talking with you. Wish I could have got to a bar with you, but it was always outside of the convention center that we were always talking, which kind of had like a bar, you know. But yeah,
it's good. You were always recognizable via the beret, and I was always recognizable by the puffs of vape smoke that came out.
So I'm going to take us on the way back machine here, and if you'd step right in and just put in the coordinates for the first time that you started getting into EVE. Like, what the hell got you into EVE, and what time was that?
So I was interested in EVE before I could actually play it. So back when I was 8 or 9 years old, my father used to take me out. He was a bit of an audiophile, so he would go out to electronics stores and go and buy hi-fi parts and speakers and stuff like that. We went to an electrical store at the time. It was called Maplin's, and on the discount bin there was a game called EVE Online, and I'd read about this game before in PC Gamer Mag, and it was like not even a front page or even a feature. It was like a small article on page like 110 or something like that, and read about it, and then I recognized it. I bought the game, I took it home, put it into our state-of-the-art compact PC at the time with our dial-up internet connection, and yeah, the game wouldn't run. So I spent like the next couple of weeks just looking over like the in-game manual and reading stuff about bloodlines and education stuff, and then sort of put it down for a good while until around 2012, 2013 when I started this character.
So when was it when you grabbed it? Was that 2003 then, or no? It would have had to. Well, yeah. So it would have been like probably what 2000.
Yeah, it was like 2002. Yeah, something like that. But obviously, I wasn't able to play it, so it was kind of like a pipe dream of like, oh, I've got this looks really cool. The real shame is obviously when we went to Fanfest, there was like documentaries on those. You know, there was only 30,000 of those hard copies, and for the life of me, I cannot find the hard copy that I had at that time. So I've lost one of those, which really,
No.
really hurts me. But yeah, so started playing in around 2013. Got my ass handed to me. Stopped playing for about 4 or 5 months, and then got myself a proper gaming PC. It was an Alienware. I know, don't hate me. It was an Alienware PC, and started playing from there, and joined a independent sort of industry corp, I guess. At the time, we were doing stuff like wormholing and a bit of everything, really. And then we ended up in Minmatar Faction Warfare, and then that's when it sort of kicked off for me. Eventually moving back to Caldari.
So when did you join the Minmatar Faction Warfare?
I'm gonna have to delve into my corp history here because it's been so long.
Yeah, I know how that goes, and yeah, I've also used the corp history. I actually back when we had a wiki, which you can still access, I think, like to a certain degree, but it's not really a wiki anymore. I'd go through my entire corp history and come up with my NPC story, you know, or my I guess PC story, not because I am a playable character, playable by me. So, but I came up with like a backstory of like why, you know, I was in each corporation, what was going on, and it's fun to go back into the wave, you know, back machine and kind of look at those actual dates. And I'm really glad that we have a solid way of finding out like where the fuck was I in 2015, like.
It was a little bit weird. So I joined a group called Triacus Industries, and basically what happened is the leader went through a series of he was a veteran of the game. He'd been playing since 2003. So he had all the money in the world. He knew, well, he thought he knew everything, and basically, the first couple of corporations were just different iterations of the same group that he had made up until 2015. We went into faction warfare, and then he, in Minmatar, he then left. I spent a little bit of time in Tribal Liberation Force, like 3 days, and then went straight into Hoplite Brigade.
Okay.
Which was pretty cool. I was there for less than a month, and then discovered that being the only Caldari pilot and the only Caldari ship in a fleet is probably a bad thing.
You stick out like a Thorsum a little bit, you know. There's lots of stabbers running around. So were they flying primarily like Minmatar ships at that time?
Yeah, Minmatar and Amar was back in the day when a group called Dead Terrorists were in.
Oh, I know Dead. Warfare. Yep, I remember Dead Terrorists.
It's when they were in faction warfare. They actually undocked the first dreadnought I ever saw on a fleet fight. It was on, I think it was in Huala or Rauschsa or something like that. Some like system around that area.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. But it was like, well, I'm just gonna get primary. I didn't really understand what was going on in those big fleet fights. Like, I was on comms, but I didn't understand anything that was going on. I was just like, oh, I'll just burn towards the enemy, just, you know, see what happens. And then when I came over to faction warfare space, I got killed immediately as a solo faction warfare guy, and then joined the Molnair block, which was part of an alliance called The Block back in the day. So I was there from 2015 to 2020.
And that was the Caldari that you moved over to at that point?
That was the Caldari Alliance, yeah.
Okay. So what was the idea behind switching over from the Minmatar then over to the Caldari? I mean, I guess start off first, why'd you join the Minmatar first? Like, was that you wanted to fight the slavers, you were role-playing, or what was your ideas behind that?
I'd love to say it was one of those, but it wasn't. It was purely a question of where we were at the time as a corporation, both geographically and as a group.
So this was a corporate decision that you kind of got dragged into. Were you?
Yeah, I mean, I was wanting to do it because I wanted to get into PvP, and you know, the easiest way of doing that at that time and the closest thing was factional warfare. So as a group, we decided we wanted to do PvP, and the easiest way of doing that was to do faction warfare. And we lived just next to Amamaki at the time, so that was logically, the thing we went for. And then moving back, I mean, when that corporation died, it was a case of, right, so I'm by myself. There isn't really many Caldari ships available around here without having to go to and from a trade hub, and I didn't have a hauling alt at the time, so it was a case of, when I moved back over to Caldari, I literally loaded everything into like a Corax and sold everything else off, and just slow burned over to the Caldari war zone. It was, and that's how I died.
So did you, when you were in faction warfare and you didn't have a hauler alt, and I see this a lot with a lot of people being like, hey, of course I'm going to join the Caldari because I get access to Jitta. Is there any issues that you guys have with being in a war deck? That, I mean, police help you, but like there's ways around that shit. Because I personally am like, why the fuck are you in high sec, you crazy fucker? Like, that's how you die, like, for no reason whatsoever, with really expensive shit, because you're moving expensive stuff around, trying to get it to the war zone. I'm gonna bring like 50 fits over, all of a sudden that gets blown up. Have you had any problems with that in high sec?
No, actually, to be honest, because when I joined Block, and I joined Molten Block, which was the executing alliance for that alliance, it was the leading corporation, sorry, for that alliance. My world got flipped upside down because the leadership were very, I mean, as with any faction warfare alliance, as I know now, but back in the day, it was shock. I got given 3 ships. I got offered a freighter service to get my stuff in from Jitta. I was told that, I was given set skill plans, not skill plans as they are now, but like old school skill plans on a spreadsheet. That was emailed to me, and the whole structure around it was you'd be start as of a line member, but then you'd specialized into something. So I specialized in being an interceptor pilot or scout, which is how I got into kiting and stuff like that.
Great starter thing to do if you're getting used to, and you've done some fleet stuff before this, right? But this is like the first time is this when you got really hardcore into it, or have you already been feeling like you really knew what was going on and this was the time to step up as the scout?
Absolutely not. No, actually, before this, it was literally, I would probably say, you would probably say I was more like one of the sort of random militia members that would just join the fleet and not
the
really
liability.
On. Yeah, the cannon fodder, as it were. Yeah, when I joined them, I mean, I think I'm not going to look up the Z kill stat now, but looking at it, I think from the month before I joined, I was sitting at around maybe 5 or 6 kills, and my first month in the alliance, in the Block alliance, I was up to about 85 to 89 kills that month.
Wow.
Joining.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a substantial jump.
It was a complete switch over, and I started doing solo stuff. I started learning how to kite, how to fly ships, how to FC. And that was a major turnaround point for me, which is why nowadays when I'm talking about faction warfare and when I'm talking about how people should start in faction warfare, it's absolutely you got to join corporations, you got to join alliances, because that's the only way you will learn. EVE is a very social ball game, as we all know, but if you want to get the most of it, it has to be enjoyed with other people.
Yeah, and I take that one step further and say not just join a corporation, but then start joining the fleets. Like, if you really want to know what's going on and learn the war zone and stuff, it can be really disheartening to go out and do solo work when you're not really a good solo worker. Unless you're willing to just throw 100 ships, and I say you should throw 100 ships into solo and just watch them get blown up, and you will learn. After you've blown up about 100 of the same ship, you might know a little bit of how to use it and what not to take it up against and stuff. Also, we have Canuck Down Under shouting out about the Amar victory. He's a long-time listener. Love you, Canuck. Definitely, we might disagree about who needs the victory, but always glad to have you here. But yeah, so Awesome. So you started hanging out, started getting into some good fleet fights, getting some good kills. So why leave the alliance? What ended up changing up at some point?
So fast forward around 5 years, things started to turn on us. So the alliance was part of a coalition of alliances. So we were in a coalition with a alliance called Hakon. There was a couple other smaller alliances, but our main ally was Templar's Calcif.
Hmm.
And
I
at the
remember those guys
time,
well.
yeah, at the time, they were moving towards more of a looking at doing alliance tournament stuff. They were more on content generation than system control, which is a fair thing to say. You know, not everybody likes spinning buttons for hours on end. Um, but yeah, so we then had groups like Snuffed Out and a couple other pirate groups as well come into the war zone. That didn't help us as well. We had a lot of infrastructure destroyed, moons, Astra houses, and stuff like that. And the entire coalition as a whole started losing structures. We had a fort. We lived out of a fort at the time in Ihar, and they came after it. I think 2 or 3 times, and I think it was like ridiculous, like a complement of ships and stuff. It was like Macarial fleets versus like rattlesnake fleets. There was, people like Pandemic Horde were in fights. We had Exodus. We had Project Snuffbox back in the day, which was Project Mayhem and Snuffed Out in a coalition together.
Project Snuffbox. That's
Yeah. It was there was a scope for big fights, but only if you had a big fleet to back you up. On sort of day to day, you would get a couple of Titans dropped on you and you'd be flying caracals. So it was like very specific content points where content generation happened. So in the end, we decided that we weren't going to survive this. So we decommissioned the Fort Azar in Ihar and left. And what happened is we had a meeting, and the different corporations all separated out to go do their own thing. M Block went to go and they joined Shadow Cartel, and
okay. Yep.
we moved with Shadow Cartel to secede in the Amar Minmatar war zone. We stayed there for, I want to say, about 3 or 4 months, and then they moved down to Assa, which is on the other side of Highsec from the Minmatar and Amar war zone. And then from there, we moved as a corporation to join Templis, which at that point was part of Wrecking Crew down in Providence. And then at that point, I decided I was going to leave the corporation because nobody wants to travel 10 jumps through Highsec to go get low-sec content. And null-sec solo PvP is a little bit balked sometimes. So it was a case of, for my own content, my own personal sort of, happiness and enjoyment playing the game, I moved.
Yeah, I know how that goes with the long jumping kind of stuff. It's one of the reasons why I got pulled. I jumped into like faction warfare as soon as it kind of came out, and been playing the game for a long time. Was in 0.0 with Interstellar Alcoholic Conglomerate back in the Great War of 2006. I think that was 2007. And there was some Mr. Unlucky, how's it going, man? Good to have you here. We got Master Corvus with us doing an interview. But, one of the things about being out in 0.0 was just, we didn't have to go through Highsec, which is, even more fucked up. But just going 20, 30 jumps to kind of find content, or just sitting in a super fleet, just waiting for somebody to fuck up and get caught so that we can go in and save them. Although that's kind of cool. I was like, I want to go out and find some fights. Like, I don't want to just sit here and wait. And there's nothing like faction warfare. Fucking nothing like faction warfare when it comes to just undock, maybe right in the system that you're in, and then bam, you are like fucking killing shit either 1 or 2, maybe 3 jumps away. Like we do like the pipeline, or we go up to like the farthest is to go up to OICX from Hadeli's. Fucking Triglavian gate camps too. Those are bitches. But yeah, so I feel you when it comes to like, why would you stay with something when you've got to go a shit ton of jumps to go and find a fight? Like, let's just live where the battles are at, right?
Yeah, I mean, after that, I joined a group, an alliance called Ghost Birds, and that was towards the point where Galmeal was starting to take the entire war zone. They were the last sort of Calmeal element left in Enaluri,
Okay, yep.
before Galmeal took the war zone. So I joined those guys, and
This
those were
was
really good.
this was after the Triglavian like cutoff of that high sec to that area,
It was
right?
during. It was actually during.
Oh, okay.
Because we moved to Prasari, which is up north, all the way like up, like literally hit Asakai in the northeast, and then keep going up until you hit high sec, basically. And we lived out of a low sec system there, and yeah, we got dicked over pretty badly by the invasion stuff. Like none of us were PvEers. We enjoyed PvP, and we didn't really want to.
The best kind of Caldari.
Yeah, we didn't really want to PvE. We didn't really feel like the content was inclusive for us. We didn't really want to do it. So consequently, we lost a bunch of systems, which was fine because we didn't really use Ikoria or any system like that. But the biggest thing was the gate camps absolutely dicked us over because in that pipe you have a couple of high sec connecting systems as well. So basically, at one point when they had the rats on the gates constantly, you couldn't actually get anything bigger than a destroyer through the gates. So consequently, if we went out on a battlecruiser fleet, we were literally limited to a pipe of around 6 systems, which went nowhere.
I had a fucking worm that got caught by those fucking Triglavians. A worm. I was like, I'm in a worm. I'm fine. I'll just align, or just hit the warp button. I'll be 100% fine. And I got blown up, and that was the day that I was like, okay, how the fuck do I get these guys to stop shooting me? Like, I know people were talking about this. I was like, that's work, effort. What? I mean, I fly frigates a lot. I don't really give a fuck. Like, and then that was the day that I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to this fucking weird Triglavian constellation that they created, and I'm just gonna shoot a fucking rat and wait for it to die, and then we're good.
I got killed in a pilgrim.
Oh.
I got killed in a pilgrim by them, and I cloaked. That's the thing.
They decloaked you?
They decloaked me because what they did is basically I pressed warp, went to cloak. During my alignment, they were still approaching me and burning towards me, so they ended up decloaking me, and then I got insta-pointed and died. I was just like, wow, this is pure, unadulterated shit.
Are you still bad with the Triglavians, or are you good now?
No, I'm in a unique position where I am. The game says that I am 0.0 to both Triglavian and Edencom, yet I'm still able to be shot by Edencom.
You get shot by Edencom, so you got to go find a drone and just shoot it once, man. You'll be fine.
I've literally got it's like a 0.001 good standing to Triglavians, and apparently that's enough of an excuse for Edencom just open up at me whenever I land on a gate.
You can get good. I'm good with both of them. So if you're in Triglavian space and you shoot one drone, just take a destroyer out there, shoot one drone, and you'll get good with both Edencom and with... it's so weird that... Because normally it's negative you need for Edencom. Like, they actually need to be like, I hate you, a little bit. And, yeah, that's... there isn't a lot of Edencom, though, in our space. So I think you're probably also not... It's not that big of a deal. As long as you're good with the Triglavian, you can pretty much get around the war zone in FW Galente area, so...
Yeah, I've been dicked over before a couple of times when I've like chased somebody to a station and not realized it's an Edencom system, and then we've had a fight on the station, and I've instantly just, eaten like railgun rounds, just like, oh, okay, where's this guy? He's in a Tristan and he's hitting me for like 1,000. Like, what the hell is going on? And then it's an Edencom station, right? Okay, that explains it. Okay, cool.
Yep, I know how that goes. I also had up in the like pipe area by the Sugerento kind of area. I don't know, but there's some like Caldari rats that show up every once in a while on stations. I don't know if you've ever seen this before. And I've lost a ship because I got into some PvP on a station with somebody, and all of a sudden, like 20 like Caldari rats showed up out of nowhere and just started blapping me, and they were from like a mining consortium or something like that.
Yeah. So that's yeah. So those are the diamond rats that are for the mining NPCs. So
Oh.
you know when you got those NPCs in the asteroid belts and they'll be they might be mining and stuff like that. If you attack them, the mining fleet will warp off, and then a PvP quotation marks fleet will come in, and they will actually act like a PvP, like a player fleet. So they will have tacklers that will come and tackle you. They have mainline DPS
Yeah.
and support ships.
They're really annoying as fuck, but that'll shoot anybody then. It's not just because I'm
Oh yeah.
Galente. That's a like that's a
Yeah,
diamond rat thing.
if you hit if you hit the mining
But
ships,
I didn't touch them. I think I might just have neg 5 standings to that.
it might be
that
it might
group,
be your
like.
standing. So interesting enough though, I think there was a story from CCP. I think it was maybe last year or maybe earlier this year, where there was an empty system in nullsec, and there was a what they called a Blood Raiders Satio spawn in a nullsec system. The Blood Raider rats went into spawned in an asteroid belt alongside one of these mining fleets. They obviously started shooting the mining fleets, and the mining fleet escalated, and basically both fleets ended up escalating into a massive fight with not a single player in system.
I remember hearing
the
about
AI was
that.
just fighting itself.
Or a similar story about that happening out at like 0.0 somewhere or something like that, where it was like drifters, like pirate faction got involved, and like it was just all these NPCs like fucking killing each other, Triglavians and stuff, and it was like, there's nobody. Why are we taking so much processing power over here? Let's take a look. Holy shit, the NPCs have gone to war. Like, awesome. So you were, sounded like things were kind of winding down for your alliance. What did you end up doing after that? Did you stick with the corporation, or what kind of happened after things started winding down? You guys had just brought down your Fortizar, you'd said.
So yeah, we decommissioned the Fortizar, which was good fun. Not. So our CEO at the time, a gentleman named goes by Myra Stark in the game, is a very, very awesome fucking guy. He is very military minded, and he basically stocked that Fortizar so that we wouldn't have to leave system to reship or do anything for assets for about 3 months. So consequently, we had over 3,000 ships that we had to all repackage, and not bulk repackage, like old school one at a time repackage, and then move out of the Fortizar before decommissioning it. But yeah, after that, went to Templis, ended up in Ghostbirds. Ghostbirds was good fun, had some really good fights there. Ended up living out of a low-sec pocket near Kanaka. And then the Alliance decided to disband because real life happens. So I ended up flying with a band apart and Stay Frosty with Rick Jarbex.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Joe Bain used to fly, or I think he still does technically still fly for them. Yeah, that's I've met up with Band Brothers does some really or Band Apart, not Band of Brothers. I keep on doing that too. They're very different.
I'm sure it's on purpose as well. That's...
Also, Splotty Boom, thank you so much for the follow. That's always a pleasure to see people following us. And also, if the anybody that's in chat, anybody watching, if you've got questions, always feel to field them out, and we'll try and find a spot to ask them, of course. But yeah, so that's awesome. So you joined up with, and that was not part of faction warfare at that point. So you were doing like pirating work and more, doing shoot anybody that comes your way.
Yeah, pretty much. I wanted to try the piracy side of things. I hadn't really done that before. And even though, the group has some amazing pilots in there, really good guys, I found myself sort of hankering for some sort of objective-based gameplay. Like it's all well and good. Oh, we're gonna go out and kill like 5 billion ISK worth of ships in a fleet. You know, that's fantastic. That's awesome. That's content. But why?
The
and-
whys hit me too whenever I did piracy, even when I was running my own corporation and doing it. When I was even out in 0.0, and it wasn't a time of war, it was like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, what is my reason to exist? But because I knew my reason when I was a Galente faction warfare person. It was to fight the fucking war zone and to hold back the tide. Like, let's do this.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You're in this system. Why am I in this system? Because I'm defending this system. And you know, it was hard. It was hard to sort of to leave that group because it was they you know, people very like-minded like myself. They're very PvP orientated, but not to the point where you have to like sign your life away. So I left. And I went and started my own corporation. And here we are today.
So tell me a little bit about your corporation. Give me a pitch here, or give our viewers, or you know, the listeners in the future, what's up with your corporation? What's the name? What's the concept?
So the corporation name is Mercury Arms. We are a 30-man corporation living in Losec. Our main mantra is quality over quantity and activity over numbers. So for us, for me personally, I'd rather have a corporation of, for instance, 10 people and have 9 active, rather than a corporation of 100 people and have like 2 actives.
Oh yeah. I'd almost rather have a group of a corporation of 10 people with 9 active than a corporation with 100 people and 10 active.
Exactly.
You know, because this is, you know, it's like, what are all these other people doing? Unless it's like, you know, the 90 buddies that you have, you know, that are your close friends, the 90 friends that play Eve, because we all have that, right? Like, you've got at least 90 close friends that play Eve, right?
I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, the thing is as well, it's like you can't, like, with the amount of inactives in a corporation, you can't accurately plan on what you can take and what you can't take. If you have 150 people in corp, then at that level you should be having a couple of structures to yourself. You should be able to run a jump freighter program. You should be able to do all this ancillary stuff and be able to go for larger objectives. However, with a smaller group that you know that you're kind of limited. And for me, I think I find that a bit better. Also, I think it's a bit more close knit as well.
Mhm.
People, you're not a faceless voice on the end of a microphone. You know, that's, you know, I can turn around and say, okay, that's this person. He does DJing in Eastern Europe. He's got a gig next week. Really good for him, you know. Or this guy, he's a teacher and he's helping my other corp mate with his trigonometry exam. You know,
That's so
it's
cool.
stuff like that. It's like it's a really awesome vibe and a really Eve vibe to it, where you're not just players in a game, you're more like friends and more like people with common interests, you know.
I've made a lot of internet friends, by playing EVE Online and going to different parties and like doing real life meetups, but even ones that I never met. It took me a long time to meet up with Gwen, but when I got that guy into Corp and murdering, like, we became really good friends really quickly through the internet. And then it was like, okay, we've got to get you to Madtown to a meetup, and we finally did that. But yeah, that's awesome. So we also went to Fanfest, both of us, not together, but we did get to hang out with each other. Was that your first Fanfest?
No, that was my second Fanfest.
All right. So tell me about your first Fanfest experience.
So my first Fanfest was 2022. I was originally supposed to go to Fanfest in 2020. However, COVID happened, and Iceland as an island was shut down.
Careful with those swear words, man.
So the country of Iceland was shut down for the pandemic, for obvious reasons, and so there was no Fanfest. And I really wanted to go to this one because I was very hyped to go to the one in 2020. I'd spent around £2,000 on getting an apartment, getting everything ready, and ended up losing about a grand, about 1,000 on that from not being paid back by travel agents and stuff like that. So I was determined to go to this one, for sure. And last year I think the stars aligned because I went there. It was a Caldari themed fan fest. It was all done out like G2 4.4, and they announced Uprising, which was the faction warfare changes, which I'd been waiting 10 years to see. So it was very much a stars have aligned moment.
Oh, I bet you felt like, man, there is no coincidence in the universe. So were you prepared for them to announce Uprising? I guess they gave you quite a bit of like hints that they were going to faction warfare before that, because about 6 months before they even announced anything, I was like screaming. You can check, it's on the Federation Frontline Report podcast. We've talked about this multiple times before those changes came up, and I was like, they're doing it. I know it. I just know it. I've been in this long enough that I can feel that they're coming back to faction warfare. There's something that I'm just kind of like little hints that they put out before they made any real announcement, and everybody was like, you're stupid. You have no idea. How long have you been doing faction warfare? Because they've never changed it. I was like, dude, they've changed faction warfare. They have. Like, how long have you been in it? Because apparently not long enough to know that a lot of changes have happened to this, just not the ones that we really need. And, well, that's debatable. But anyways, did you have an inkling that this was coming?
I kind of did. I mean, I wasn't 100% sure. I was quietly confident, and I really wanted the changes to happen. There'd been a lot of movement on the CSM about factional warfare. Torvald had messaged me a couple of times asking for, do you know any other suggestions and stuff like that? What have you heard from the faction warfare community Discord? What are your court mates and alliance mates saying? And we sort of did a bit of a dive into the community and into the community groups and stuff like that on Discord and on Reddit, and basically what he had come up with is exactly what the community had wanted, basically. And he was asking this mainly because he was doing a presentation to the sort of higher members of CCP on factional warfare, and it was. So I knew something might happen. I wouldn't say I was completely 100% sure, but I was sure enough to make a $10 bet with Virion from Spectre Fleet as I went into that keynote that year.
I got to meet him at FanFest. It's an awesome dude.
He is, yeah. He said, yeah, there's not going to be anything, Corvus. There's no faction warfare changes. So I was like, I'll bet you $10. It was like, yeah, okay, we'll take that bet. And I ended up winning $10, and I got my faction warfare update, so I was a happy boy.
Stars aligning is true. Wow, was that your first time meeting Virion as well?
No, I'd met Virion before in 2019 when I was doing the World Invasion Tour as part of Streamfleet.
Oh, cool, awesome. So how did you feel about? I mean, obviously you loved him, but was there, besides the love, or including the love, actually, how did you feel about faction warfare changes when they announced them and when they actually implemented them?
So we were worried that they were going to reset all the systems, all the contested level of the systems. So obviously it's a new system with the advantage and stuff like that. Thank you that they didn't, because we were about 50% through Siege. But no, I was very happy with the changes and eager to see how they would change the Warzone. And a year on, over a year on now, 18 months on, you can see the changes in the game. You can see that low-sec faction warfare space is a lot more popular. There's a lot more people flying around. The content is more focused because of the frontline systems, and the UI stuff is fantastic. easy to understand, and actually gives you the information without having to leave the game client and go to places like Dotland and external places. So
yeah, we've got that up on the
Uprising,
screen right here. You can see the most beautiful map in all of EVE Online. It looks like a fucking Stellaris map, actually. Very interactable, very awesome. Check it out in game, and hopefully they roll out this for like every single like region. I feel like should have their own little map like this, but there's just no reason to have the faction warfare stuff on it. So maybe that'll come out to 0.0 at some point. So
not yet.
There's been some hints. So
after the last Fanfest, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I know. There was little hints out there that were like maybe some faction warfare out in 0.0, but for fear of 0.0 fighting, like
they mentioned they might move me. They alluded. I wouldn't say they mentioned. They alluded to the frontline system going out to nullsec. It doesn't mean that faction warfare will be going out to nullsec, although they have alluded to that before.
Mm-hmm. But I think this is actually like taking space. Like the new way to take space will be kind of a frontline kind of.
There was. I don't know if you were in that room, but there was an intake of breath, possibly a moment of silence there from the entire room when they announced that, and we were just sitting there, like, ooh, that's gonna be a spicy Reddit thread later.
Yep. Change is hard, but sometimes change is needed. And speaking of change, how did you feel about them getting rid of the tier system? So I know the Caldari during that time period, you guys were at tier like 5. Like you guys were raking it in. Missions were the greatest thing on earth for you. You guys could just go out with some jackdaws and
I think
easy farm.
We were at tier 5 for a while. I don't think we were at tier 5 when the Uprising hit. I think we were at tier 4, just about to go into tier 3.
I think it was the announcement when you guys were at that tier 5.
Yeah. I mean, good riddance. The tier system was a fucking awful system. Very much a rich get richer system. Completely swayed the war zone. It became more about LP farming rather than actual PvP prowess and tactics. And I think it should have been chucked into a garbage fire about 10 years ago when it first came out, to be honest.
Did you experience the first iteration of the tier system?
No, but I do know, and I have seen articles in my research that there were certain groups, Goon Swarm, that managed to rake in trillions of ISK.
Yeah, so it was basically you got a discount on the store, not a LP payout thing. So basically, as you would up your tier advantage to tier 5, it was like a 75% discount on anything that was in the LP store. So everything became super viable to like get, and you could do some weird fuckery. And it was basically you had 30 minutes, usually during EU time zone because back then you could take the entire war zone in like a day. Like it wasn't that hard if you got enough of the farmers out there. Maybe I'm exaggerating in the day, but it was really quick that the war zone would go all Caldari, all Galente, all Caldari, and you just didn't care except for that like 30-minute period where you would bump up all of the systems, get you up to tier 5, and everybody would do just a bum rush of buying crazy amount of stuff off the LP store. And that was the worst iteration. That was horrible. And
it actually made mainline news as well, because I remember the article was from MMORPG.com, which was quite a big main sort of news source back in the day. I don't know if it still is, but like Goons raked in trillions of ISK. That was when the sort of prominence of Vex and Navy issues were used out in nullsec to do ratting and stuff like that, because they were disgustingly cheap. Before they then nerfed it into the ground and made it a blaster boat. And that's when the Ishtar became a thing, and that's where we're currently at with the meta. It's either Gilas or Ishtars out in nullsec now.
Right.
And I think it's actually gone back slightly to Vex and Navies because of the build mats for T2, but I can't be quoted on that because I don't do much of it. So
the Vexer is still a badass ship. I mean, the Vexer Navy issue is still a lot of fun, definitely.
It's been outclassed lately.
I
mean, a couple of other faction cruisers.
The Executor is is superior in the punch power. And the ONI is just a really beautiful, kitey, fuck around, great for the war zone type kind of ship. Even though I don't fly it, Corvus can tell you all about how the ONI is a fun, kick-ass ship.
Yeah, I mean, the meta at the moment with the exec navy. I mean, as I'll quote, I don't really like to quote Phantomite, but I will quote Phantomite on it. It is currently the best battle cruiser in the game at the moment.
You mean cruiser?
No, battle cruiser, because
Oh,
it puts out 1,000 DPS with
Oh
blasters.
yeah, okay, it's the best little battle cruiser. They need to reclassify. Yep, no, it is. I mean, 1,000 DPS in your face. You can do dual webs in a scram. I actually was. I went up against Haha not too long ago. And one of my fondest memories of that fight was he attacked my stabber in a frigate and got killed. He came back with a comet and he killed me, and with my stabber went down, and then he was like, hey, let's do cruisers, this has been fun. And I was like, how about we one up it and we do faction cruisers? He's like, absolutely, not a problem. So he came out with an ONI. I had the dual web Executor Navy issue, and he was like, fuck, I was not expecting those dual webs, because he had a tracking disruptor, but if you're not moving, I don't need to track you anymore. All I need to do is punch you in the face at 0. So
it gets to a point where we have a guy I think he was in Sedition, or it was a Galmiel guy anyway. We killed his Orthrus in an exec navy, and even he was complaining about it. We were like, this is your ship. This is the shit you fly always. Don't complain at us if your ship is broken, okay?
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, we put his author. It was like 7.5 billion ISK or something like that. It's something ridiculous. It's just like unbelievable.
So tell me, what did you think of the battlefields? And first, what did you think of the announcement of it, and then the actual implementation? What's the expectation versus the reality?
I think there is some balancing to be done with battlefields. I don't agree with the common thought line that there should be T2 battlefields. I think there should remain a faction and meta arena, so to speak, because you have a danger of it turning into, I'm gonna bring an I win button. I'm gonna bring Vargas or something like that to it, and then there's nothing much you can do. I think at the moment they're a very good content generator, a bit grindy at times, possibly. But the main problem with them is it's very easy to farm them with seagulls and stuff like that. There needs to be there needs to be a system in place where they can tell who is actually participating and who is actually adding something to that battlefield.
Right, like more of what happens in like Trig Space, right, where you've got to actually shoot something, you got to participate a little bit. But even that, I think, is still like seagullable to a certain degree. Being the one holding down points might be better. Like, the seagulling thing is really hard. They did improve it a lot, because I mean, once at the very beginning of it, you could do you could be in the enemy faction, and if you seagulled, you were fine at 5,000 kilometers away. You got LP payout for being the enemy side that was there.
Wow.
That was like day 1, and I think for the first week or something like that was happening. And then there was so they stopped that, but then there was the 5,000 kilometer seagull that still got paid out. But they stopped that, made it so you got to be within like 200 kilometers or 100 kilometers or something like that of the battlefield arena. And Riley says hi to you, boss Corvus. And
hi Riley, how you doing?
We've Riley
was sneaky at Fanfest, because they didn't tell us that they were going. They alluded to it, and we caught like a couple of odd sentences, but it was one of those like conversations where you didn't really think they were talking about it, and they they had gone to Fanfest but hadn't informed any of us in Corp that they were there.
Oh, sneaky.
No, but the best bit was I actually spoke to them on the first day at the sign-ups, but they were there under their alt name, which I didn't connect at all. So I was like, okay, cool, nice to meet you, and then like left and went to do my own thing. And then it was at the lore panel when they asked a question, we recognized the voice from comms. I was like, wait, it's you.
That's epic. That is so epic.
Hi EQ, how you doing, man?
EQ, welcome. Yeah, awesome. We got some of your corp mates. The boss is on TV. Yes, he is on the greatest pirate broadcast coming from Dealey's HQ. We snuck him into the station for the interview. So.
Don't sugarcoat. They're here to harass and heckle. We know the game. It's fine.
So we've talked about a little bit about battlefields. One thing that I kind of want to just put out there about this is I really think that they should get rid of offense and defense altogether. I think that there should be, first of all, it doesn't make any sense for Battlefield because there's no mechanical difference between offense and defense. So getting a payout that's, okay, so we've got a defensive battlefield that's in a 10% contested area. Why the fuck would we give a shit about doing that besides that it'll make it maybe a little bit more contested? Like, it's not enough to make me go, oh my god, that 10% is now going to jump up to 30 or 40 or something like that. It's a little bit, it's a solid bump and advantage, but if it's not a threatened system, who gives a shit? Like, and why go defend it? We're not going to make any payout for it. And there's, like you guys are going to go strong at it because it's an offensive for you. You get the full payout. So you have a huge incentive to go out and do this and actually be organized about it. Besides going and shooting you, which is a good incentive. But running the battlefield is going and shooting you is a very big incentive. Holding that battlefield is much more like, nah, whatever. Okay, we got to kill some people.
I would tend to agree because there are definitely a section of players, possibly in both militias, but definitely in Calmil, where they will not run a defensive battlefield because they don't get the LP for it. They don't get much for it, to be honest. If Galmiel doesn't show up, they're just spinning buttons, and it's just like, well, I might as well go get content over there. If they made it a flat rate, not as high as an offensive battlefield right now, of course, but a flat rate, maybe slightly less.
I think it should be the same. I mean, there's no mechanical difference.
Exactly. There's no difference between them, and in effect, that those battlefields should be, from a not from a lore point of view, but from a context point of view, should be as important as each other, no matter what system they're in, because it is a battlefield. It's a battle between the factions, so it should be as important whatever system it's in, not just, oh, this one is worth slightly more, but you don't do anything different for it. And I think I'd like to also to see, I don't know, a bit more, I don't know if it's even possible, but a bit more sort of dressing to it. Like my, like my sort of, when they talked about battlefields, my sort of interpretation was you'd go into this megaplex, and there would be huge fleets of NPCs just
fighting each other,
smashing the shit out of each other, sort of thing. And you, even though you are a capsuleer, you are still a very small cog in this overarching battle that gives life to the war zone. Right, these empires are actually taking pieces out of each other to try and take this.
Yeah, this dreads dropping, maybe even a Titan shows up to
exactly.
No loot or anything, right?
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
No loot or anything.
It would be add to like a grand scale of epicness. That would be, holy shit, I'm in a fight here, but not. And instead, we kind of got, well, this is a complex, but it's 3 capture points.
And you got some rats running around, but they're not.
And then there's a couple of wrecks of capitals scattered around, but no actual.
Why did we show up so late to the battle? Like, apparently,
exactly. It seems like it's already over, and it's just like the stragglers of both forces are just kind of picking at each other, But yeah, that was my impression of it. I'd like to see something like that. Like and it's not beyond the realms of possibility if you look at the new MPE. when you first start the game and stuff like that. The cinematics of that, even though you're out on grid and in space, is incredible. So something like that for Battlefields would be fantastic. I don't know how plausible it would be because I'm not a game developer and I have no idea what CCP's resources are at this time. But CCP, please, I guess, is the conclusion to that one.
But yeah, I've definitely one thing real quick. I just want to like point out that Riley asked Pirate Bot broadcast. So the Federation Frontline, otherwise known as Golden Age Stories, back before the great rebranding that happened like 2 days ago, has been and always will be a pirate corporation, privateer. We're a privateer broadcast, but that doesn't sound as cool.
So my RP, my role playing retort to that would be apparently the Galante's allegiance to a cause is as loose as their morals, right?
Hey man, it all depends on what point of view you're coming at it from. From a certain point of view, Vader killed Anakin Skywalker. So
he also killed a lot of younglings, I seem to remember as well.
Fuck,
children,
man. Was that Darth Vader or was that Anakin Skywalker?
I mean, technically, he wasn't. He was still Anakin, right? He was in his process. He needs transition process.
He was a Dark Lord of the Sith at that point, I would argue, and that is when it wasn't the suit that made Vader. It wasn't the getting cut down by Obi-Wan that made Vader. Vader's the one who choked not his wife, but a woman that was carrying his babies. You know, like that. Vader was the one who chopped down the children. And
I would say he became Vader when he went and killed all those separatists. Oh, what we got? He's got a lightsaber. I knew he was gonna bring it. I knew it.
It's kind of loud, so I don't want to be too crazy with it, but yeah, this fucker is rated to smack. Like, me and my wife, the moment that I got this as a present for her for coming to Fanfests. Got the buy one get one free deal, the Ahsoka deal that came out, and I was like, you came to FanFest, and she even said that it was better than Gen Con. Like, and we go to Gen Con every year, 100,000 nerds gather for different, things that we do out there. And she was like, this was better than Gen Con. And she's not like hardcore Eve at all. Like, she'll come out in fleets, and she, likes the look of it to a certain degree, but overall she'd rather be playing other games like Borderlands and stuff like that. So I kind of drag her out. But we did meet via not really meet. We hung out a lot because of EVE Online, because she lived in France for a little while, and when her friend group was all playing EVE and stuff. So anyways, I was like, awesome, thanks for coming with me. She loves Halloween and dressing up and loves Star Wars, so I was just one night in Iceland looking at different things, and all of a sudden I saw an ad for this fucking lightsaber that you could smash up against a tree with a bunch of might, and I was like, okay, I'm buying this, one for my wife and one for me. As soon as we got them, we lightsaber battled, like, immediately. It was like just epic. And
that's awesome.
The only sad part is my puppy. I've got a Great Dane. She's 2.5 years old, and she was like, Mommy and Daddy are trying to kill each other. Like, this is,
Oh, no.
She like ran down into my office, which she doesn't hang out in my office a whole lot. And she immediately went down in my office and hid underneath my desk. And I was like, oh man, my puppy dog hates the lightsaber. It's funny, but also very sad.
That's but I think the thing is with FanFest, I think it's the community that makes it an event, man. It's not, I don't think as an event it's it's okay. Pretty standard. There's panels, there's keynotes. It's not in reinventing the wheel, but right. I think it's
a few booths here and there,
exactly.
Spin the wheel,
maybe
the
players and community that make it what it is. And the fact that devs are so willing to interact with the players as well.
That's huge for me. I was like, man, I get to hang out with CCP Aurora and talking to CCP Swift. I've interviewed Swift in the past on my World of Darkness podcast. can't get CCP onto Federation Frontline, but actually I'm working on that right now.
There's already plenty of tin hats out there that are like CCP flying with Galmeal again. I'm sure there'll be some people who will be like, look.
But yeah, so that FanFest sounds like that was pretty epic for you. I also want to get in that we went to FanFest 2023, the 20th anniversary. Tell me, how was that experience for you, coming back to Iceland for a second time for the 20th anniversary?
Absolutely amazing. Iceland is a fantastic place, and Reykjavik also a fantastic city. It was great to actually be able to go to the CCP HQ as well. Meeting other EVE partners as well was really good. It's a shame I didn't get to go into the actual studio itself. We kind of just hung out outside in the reception area, but it was crazy just seeing all these players in one spot, and players that hadn't played the game for years and years and years and made an effort to get out there.
I was blown away by how many people are like, I haven't played in 5 years, and I'm like, fuck, man, you're a special like fruit out there. Like, there's something special about EVE, especially EVE FanFest. If there's people who have stopped playing the game for 5 years, but they're coming out to the social gathering for this, and
it would be interesting to see a metric on how many new subscriptions there were after FanFest as well, or renewed subscriptions, I should say.
I bet people a lot of renewed.
Oh yeah. I know there's one person on Twitter, I can't remember the name now, but they tweeted out that they'd gone to FanFest after not playing for many years, and they are now like they resubbed for 2 years on a 24-month sub, which is fantastic, awesome. But I think that's all down to the community and the FanFest effect. I think is a big one. I'm so glad they managed to get the monument fixed this year. Last year they did not have it fixed.
I heard about that, and yeah, that
was the only letdown from that FanFest, was going to the monument and then discovering that all the plates were out of order. So the app was like the website where you go on to search your name was useless. Couldn't find my name. Couldn't find any name. Some of them had been placed in upside down. They hadn't engraved some of the plates, so they just printed over the top of the metal. So in the weather, they had just faded to a point where you couldn't read them. So I'm really happy that they'd actually gone through and improved it and actually made it, what it should be, which is a monument to EVE Online and something inclusive for all players. So
do you have a chevron next to your name?
Yeah, I got a 10-year one as well. Yeah,
nice.
On there, which is really cool. Ironically enough,
I got it as well.
Little fun fact: when I first started playing EVE, I played for about a month, and then I sort of lost interest in it. It was more of a frustration thing. I didn't really understand what I was doing, so therefore I was just like, I don't want to play it. So I took a break for about 3 or 4 months. And then I got an email. I came back to the game and I was like, right, I'll start a new character and we'll see what happens. And Onzo was to be biomassed and disappear forever. And then I got an email saying that Onzo, because I'd logged in at that certain point, was going to have a name on the monument. So I was like, well, I've got to keep it now. And, 8-9 years later, we're now forever Corvus Onzo and forever on the monument, which is fantastic. But there was a point where that was going to disappear.
Wow.
Samson 07, man.
Hey, how's it going? Strength and Samson. Oh, and the tier 1 gifts. Thank you, God, man. I love you so much. Riley got one. Awesome. Riley, check out my shit all the time now, and that would be awesome.
Riley also streams as well, if you want to check that out as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a command, maybe Samson, if you can figure out what the command is for the shout out to Riley, and definitely that's thank you so much, Samson. Samson's fucking I reached out on Facebook, was like, hey, anybody want to interview for EVE Online on my show, the Federation Frontline Report, and he was like, I don't do faction warfare, but I want to tell my story. And ever since, we've been he's my EVE wife, man. I love him. He's done so much work, so much work for the Federation Frontline. All the graphics, pretty much all the graphics that you see are his. The new intro that we have is a combination of his work and another 3D artist that we combined. Took all the cool like logo stuff and moved it on over. But we were talking about the monument. I just want to ask real quick, how many requests did you get for monument pictures of the person's name on the monument?
I got a couple. I only did one though, because I wanted to go get drunk.
So I actually was like really determined because I've got like buddies who haven't been playing the game. One of my buddies who introduced me to game, Coder Fasteel, he was the guy that got me in 2003, and I looked at the game and I said, this is fucked up. The beta is weird. I don't know what the fuck is going on. It seems like it would be really cool, but I ain't got time for this. I got to chase girls, you know, things to do when you're, I was 19 at the time in 2003. And so he logged on recently just to get the chevron on his name. So I knew I had to go get his name. I had a bunch of other buddies that, you know, had been playing the game that were on the, that are no longer playing. So I was like, maybe if I get a picture of this and get the drug back in their veins and get them back in the
Yeah.
So we went out and I went to the monument 3 times. To the first time with the unveiling that they did, got a good number of names there. A second time, not too long after that, to like I think the same day, we went back to get some more names as we got requests as I was posting them, and then we did a late night, midnight run after the top of the world, the party at the top of the world.
That's commitment right there. Holy cow.
Well, we went to Lebowski's afterwards, got pretty trash with goons and stuff like that, and then I was like, well, how are we going to get home? Well, we're going to take the scooters, and this is the first time I took those, like, scooter thingies that they've got, and my wife was like, they're really awesome, you'll love it, but I was like, okay, we're a little drunk, though, let's go down to the monument, get the last few names that I probably pulled, like, 20 names off of that thing, and I was like, oh, let's do the last ones here. We went there, sobered up, and then we did the fucking nano fleet through fucking Reykjavik. It was epic. We're like, yeah, they go like 20 kph, and just like this zooming around. Oh my god, that was epic. That was one of the highlights for me. Was like, okay, anytime I go to Reykjavik or anywhere, I see those fucking scooter things because they are around in America too. I'm gonna jump on those.
I've not partook in the scootering yet. I think one of the highlights for me was I wasn't able to get tickets to the pub crawl because they sold out almost immediately.
I couldn't either. I got lucky getting a buddy of mine.
So I was just sort of hanging out, and we ended up hanging out with Erst, the streamer Erslag, and a couple of other streamers, and we were just like hanging out in a whiskey bar right around the corner. And he went, oh, Lloyd George is upstairs. So I was like, okay, cool. What's he look like? He's like, oh, he's a short guy with a beard. I was like, and glasses. Okay, cool. Went up there and was like, right, the bar's packed, right? Let's do some recon. Let's have a look on Twitter, see if we can find a picture of this guy. Found a picture. It was a picture of him and his twin brother. They're identical. So I was like, oh, great, fantastic, right, okay, cool. And then I saw one of them walking, like speaking to one of the security guys. I think he was trying to get outside, and the guy was like, oh, you can't take glass outside or something like that. I walked up to him, was literally like out of the blue, just went, do you play EVE Online? And he's like, yeah. It's like, is your name Lloyd George? He's like, no, that's my brother. I was like, cool, where is that man? Because I want to meet him.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's like, yeah, and ironically enough, we spent time there talking to Lloyd George, and they flew in sedition. So ironically enough, we probably fought against them at some point in the past or more recently, and yeah, they're in sedition. They're in low-sec doing faction warfare stuff, which is awesome.
So awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah, the pub crawl, I thought that was really interesting that the pub crawl, you didn't need tickets. Tickets got you free drinks. But like I was
the last pub they were checking the passes because we had a look around and we were checking.
You could also get a separate ticket for that, but that sold out also very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the last pub at the very end. But I did find that kind of interesting because like I was talking to CCP Aurora the whole time because she was in my group, And at the beginning of it, I was like, yeah, I almost didn't get in on this, and I got a few buddies, and my wife wasn't able to get on this, unfortunately. And she was like, oh, I didn't get in on this either. Like, I'm just here. Like, and I was like, oh yeah, that does make sense.
I did see some guys get snuck in, which was hilarious because it was like, who do you fly with? I was like, I fly with this person. Was that and the guy was like, eh. The guy was like, all right, I fly with PL. I was like, that's better. And then they just sort of walked in. It was like, oh, I want to do that, but I can't degrade myself and say that I fly with PL because I got just something inside me.
Nuke says, he's wondering why you haven't given him a shout out yet.
Because I don't know. But yes, guys, Nuke Blast, one of our senior FCs in the corporation, absolutely wonderful person, and has revolutionized how we do fleets in Mercury. Ex Odin's cool guy. Well, first of all, ex Faction Warfare guy. I flew with this guy, and Gnoz as well. Yeah, sorry. So these two guys, Gnoz was actually the CEO of Ghostbirds. So I flew under his command in 2017 or 2018, and Nuke was an FC as well, and they both left and went to go do Alliance tournament things. And they have come back to Factional Warfare, and in some cases come back to the game, and have been absolutely amazing. And it's a pleasure to fly with you guys.
Awesome. And we do have a shout out section too, so we actually haven't even got to shout outs yet. But maybe this is a good reminder for you on that too, and I think you kind of did it here. But we are running a little bit low on time. I do need to get prepped and ready for Talking in Stations. And I wanted to make sure there's two things that I wanted just to hit on real quick here. What do you think about the Deathless invasion that's going to be happening here? But what are your thoughts there?
From an RP perspective, it does have some interesting potential consequences throughout the universe. Mechanically, I wish that. Well, I'm hoping that it opens up to other pirate groups. Hi Tamba, how you doing? Shout out to Corvus' mum. Thank you, lovely lady. Mechanically, I'm hoping that they open it up to other
factions,
particularly Mordu's, because as Caldari Militia, we actually get a derived standings increase to Mordu's Legion without running any Mordu's Legion stuff. So at the moment, I've never touched Mordu's Legion missions or done ratting or anything like that, and I have like +8 to Mordu's Legion command, which would be great because I want free Garmas. So,
yeah.
What else? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many people jump ship from the Empires and go to do the piracy stuff.
I'm definitely going to duel it. I was considering very strongly, but Frozen has been part of the Galente faction warfare since the beginning, with a little bit of hiatuses to go take trips out to 0.0 and party hardcore. But I was really torn when they first announced this, especially the way that they announced it. If it was maybe Blood Raiders, I might have even been more tempted, because just to go and be a murderous bastard of evil is, kind of what you do in Eve sometimes. So, but the two factions, Angels is kind of cool. I really want the new Titan, epic looking Titan.
I've heard there's a couple of pirate groups that are moving out to deploying Minmatar space to get their hands on their Titan. So
yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's going to be an expensive blueprint in the LP store for sure. But and it probably, in the end, it'll be worth probably maybe 2 million or 2 million ISK per 1,000 LP. But we'll see. I mean, normally that's around 1 million per 1,000. But man, that Titan looks fucking sexy, and everybody and their mother and brother are gonna want it, even if you can't fly it. I mean, I think that I just want a blueprint kind of sitting there, or the find a way to find a safe spot for it to kind of sit, just so I can go jump into it and just look at it and be like, yes, I got this. But yeah, so I was considering jumping ship, but I've decided to put my alt. I've got an alt who's good enough. He does all my hauling, but he's got like skills to go fight. So I was like, fuck it. Let's get him out of the hauling role. We'll find a new alt or a new way of getting my shit to me. But I really think you're right that there's going to be a large jumping of people over to the pirates. Like, I'm kind of scared to see what happens with that.
There's actually a really interesting couple of fun facts from the event, actually. So talking to one person on the Titan, so that Titan, its base inertia is the same inertia you get if you put like all nanofibers in the loads in a like avatar.
Oh, that's epic.
With that concept in mind, if you put enough nanos on it, you could potentially get an align time of around 7 seconds in a Titan, which is fucking crazy pants.
Yeah, that's gonna doomsday some motherfuckers in GTFO all the time.
Oh yeah. Another thing was, as well, as just speaking to one of the CCPers on the whole suppression stuff and the whole corruption stuff for the event. So apparently they ran simulations on it in the office, and basically, if nobody does any of the suppression stuff, potentially it will spread to every low-sec system that is a 0.8 or lower in security, with the potential of obviously lowering the security status of those systems as well. So potentially turning sections or even entire parts of low-sec into null-sec is a potential thing that could happen.
Yep, and it's only temporary, but it's you know, I don't know how long that is, or if you don't fight it at all, will it stick around even longer, kind of thing. We're gonna see what happens there. I'm excited to see some lowering of the security status. It's not official. It won't show, I don't think, the lowering of the actual security status, but the new mechanics will be in there. I was listening to the panel on that, and they were like, it won't be official, like it won't drop the actual security, but you can use maybe bubbles in low sec. You might be able to do some structure bashing in high sec while the invasion is going on, and everybody who thought that their high sec structures that were safe maybe ain't so safe anymore. So we'll see what comes with that. I'm super excited. The announcement was epic. We're gonna get the 3-body problem, you know. 2 orbital bodies, you know what the fuck's gonna happen. 3 orbital bodies, who the fuck knows, man? What's gonna smash into what? I was talking to CCC Burger about that, and that was I'm super excited. I wish we had more time to talk about that. I want to bring you back on, especially once this expansion hits, and definitely talk to you more about this. I wanted to get some time to talk about the first-person shooter, but once again, we'll have to talk about that when you come back on, because I always want to give a little bit of a spotlight. You know, anything that you want to talk about, anything you're passionate about. Do you stream? Which I know the answer to that question, but I would like you to answer it. Do you have any special projects, a YouTube, you know, a website? What is there about you? Also, if whatever you're passionate about, you want to talk about, and of course, if you want to give any shout outs to anybody, which we've already done a little bit of. So
yeah, sure. So I stream EVE Online. I do at least 2 streams a week, but the schedule does vary because of my full-time job. But yeah, I do low-sec faction warfare, and occasionally some day tripping out to null-sec, very occasionally. I tend to make stupid decisions with really expensive ships. So if you want to head on over and see some faction warfare action, or just want to see some PvP action, do come and join us. We operate a couple of activities for viewers. So we have a song quest line, so you can play music that you like to listen to, with a couple of caveats, of course, because I'm not a moron and I know what the community is like. Yeah, and we do giveaways and stuff like that, and of course Twitch drops when they are available. So my shout-outs. So first of all, my shout-outs I've already done, which is Gnoz and Nuke and EQ, who are all part of my leadership team in Mercury Arms. And in fact, all of Mercury Arms do a fantastic job of defending their space. We've been described as, quote, scrappy and quite tenacious. So yeah, shout out to everybody in the corporation for logging in, playing this really dumb space game and spinning buttons with me. And we have plans in the works for the future, but I'm not going to reveal those now. So you'll just have to watch the space.
Yeah, check you out on. Gonna have to check you out. I love that you stream PvP, and that is it's a rare sight to see in Twitch. A lot of people just playing the regular game, and if you know if there is streaming, there's usually like a huge delay, or 95% of the screen is blocked out, so you don't get can't get any info. But you have a really good stream. I really like it. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been an honor to have you on. It's always great to have the Caldari come over and be willing to talk to me. It was really hard at first to get anybody. They were like, fucking podcaster for the Galente, you fucking asshole. And I was like, man, I just want to be friends. I love the Caldari. I want them to be strong. I want them to kick ass and take names so that we can kick ass and take names back at you. The stronger you are, the stronger we need to be. We can feed off of each other. And everybody's got farmers in their fucking thing. Like, yeah, you got a lot of them because of Jitta and stuff like that, but that's not to be used against you. I mean, that's just the way that the fucking thing is, and it's kind of great because we can go chase some farmers and shit while we're facing off against the big ass super fleets that you guys can field out into the universe, or the small gangs that we both definitely love to field. Yeah, once again, thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me, man. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it was an absolute privilege to meet you at Fanfest, my dude.
Yes.
The year before we had a couple of Galmiel guys at Fanfest, and they didn't really want to come over and talk. We got a bit of the old stink eye from them, to be honest. So it was nice to meet you guys and meet Gwen and everything, and hang out for a little bit. So. I'll definitely want to be coming back on if you'll have me.
Absolutely. So we got our new website up and running. We just did a whole new branding thing here. So everything is Federation Frontline now. The podcast, the YouTube, the corporation and EVE Online, the Twitch channel is all switched over. We've got our awesome new epic, opening and closing graphic that video that we've built now for this. FederationFrontline.com is also up and running now. And actually I haven't checked. Let me check real quick here. But Federation Frontline, FederationFrontline.com should also go there. Federation Frontline. Let me just check that real quick here. We put in the redirects a little while ago. No, it's not working yet. We got to fix that. But yeah, a lot of work to still be done, but definitely lots of stuff that are in the works. We've got lots of interviews coming up here, and I'm going to be doing a Spectre Fleet later on today. I just got hired by Spectre Fleet to do FCing for them, which is epic. Super excited about that. So if anybody wants to come out and do some Spectre fleeting with me today, it's going to be at I think it's 1800 Eve time. Let me double check that here. Spectre Fleet. Spectre-fleet.space. I love their setup here. I should actually get a .space. So yeah, 1800 Eve time. We are going to be taking out Thrashers, and we're going to go have fun inside the Mimitar Amara Warzone. And of course, there's going to be lots of different interviews, special interviews like I had here with Corvus. So once again, thank you, Corvus, for coming on. This has been epic. Thank you all for watching, everybody that's been watching, everybody that'll be listening in the future. It's been an honor to be part of this EVE community, and I can't wait to see what 20 more years looks like. So
Mercury Arms is recruiting.
Yes, Mercury Arms. Yep. And FederationFrontlineReport.com. We're a mercenary organization, man. Like, you can come in, murder, get paid by us, and get the LP. But yeah, thank you all. Have a great night, and thank you all for your time.